Finally Friday. Thanks for joining us here on the 208. While heading into the end of the fiscal year, which was back on June 30th, a few weeks ago, we knew that the state of Idaho would head into the current year with a budget surplus. What we didn't know at the time was the final figures, which set up the economic outlook for the entire state of Idaho. Well, good news for you, the numbers are in, and Idaho has that surplus. Oh yes, well over $1 billion. Budget experts at the state report to us that since 2019, 3 years ago, the state has seen 8 years worth of revenue growth. So how did Idaho accomplish this? And what does it actually mean in terms of impact for you and I at home? I spoke with State Budget Director Alex Adams to find out. A fortunate few years economically for the state of Idaho created a major surplus. And now the final numbers for the 2022 fiscal year are in.
So when we close the books in the fiscal year on June 30th, state's ending the year with just under $1.4 billion in surplus.
State Budget Director Alex Adams shares the news. Good news for the Gem State.
In terms of a year end, just to put it in perspective, it's about 30% of the appropriations for the year that we're in. So percentage-wise, it's certainly higher than we've seen before.
So how did Idaho build such a large surplus? Almost $1.4 billion.
The economy is surging in Idaho. The main drivers are income tax, sales tax, and corporate income tax. Corporate income certainly was the star performer. Businesses are choosing to relocate to Idaho or expand their businesses in Idaho. But sales tax was up 10%, income tax was up 6%. So it really is across the board.
In recent years, Idaho has received an influx of federal dollars to help the state deal with coronavirus and impacts we've seen from that. So, did that cash infusion create the surplus? Adams says not exactly.
When we talk about the surplus, we're talking about only the state's general funds. We're talking about income tax, sales tax, and corporate income tax. Federal funds are accounted for separately throughout the state budget. That's not to say they don't have any impact. Idahoans were mailed stimulus checks from the federal government. To the extent Idahoans went out and bought things with those stimulus checks, it does show up as sales tax. So it certainly has an impact. But the funds that we got from CARES Act, the funds that we got from ARPA, the funds that we got from the bipartisan infrastructure law, those are accounted for separately and don't directly influence the surplus.
So what to do with all those surplus dollars? Adams says more of the same, in a good way, can likely be expected from the governor's office.
Yeah, I think he's talking about things similar to that for next year. Governor, in talking to him about the surplus, he's already saying, yeah, we've cut taxes 2 straight years, let's go for 3. We've made record investments for education, let's go further. So there's certainly a lot of opportunities.
Adams says there is a challenge ahead, facing other forces in the economy.
You have record high inflation, you have supply chain issues, labor market shortages. Idahoans are struggling with the price of gas and the price of groceries. And we have to manage that surplus responsibly for something that will sustain any economic condition while reinvesting in Idahoans.
In Idaho and beyond, there are concerns about the American economy heading towards a recession. Having a surplus heading into that is good news, but there could still be challenges.
For sure, and the states that are going to handle whatever economic situations may emerge, whether there is a recession, are those that do the good government prudent steps that Idaho is doing. Under Governor Little, we paid off all state building debt in our bond payment program. We invest in deferred maintenance. We maxed out our rainy day funds by putting over $1 billion in reserve. So Idahoans can have confidence that we are taking those steps necessary to prepare for what conditions might be on the horizon.
The current surplus builds on the established surplus from last year. What impact is that having now? Adams says a good example was just announced today.
In Idaho, we have just under 500 bridges that are old, structurally deficient, or have load restrictions. Governor this morning announced that we're using some of our budget surplus from last year to clean out a third of that backlog, and we're going to fix 130 to 140 bridges statewide to account for some of that wear and tear associated with growth.
So I know the big question at home you may be asking, will Idahoans get another check in the mail for a tax rebate? Many of you got them recently. Well, the answer is there's a good chance, but the Idaho legislature will have to take that up for a vote first. We'll keep an eye on that as we head into January.